My name is Lisa Miller, and until 2 months ago, I thought the only things that were real were the things I could touch, measure, or swipe on a screen. I used to look at churches the way people look at old ruins. Interesting architecture, but empty inside. I didn't hate God. I just thought he was a story we invented to make the silence of the universe feel less lonely. I was a practical person. I believed in what I could see. I believed in the news, in the stock market, in the steady progress of technology. But on Saturday, October 18th, 2025, the silence spoke back. I left the world I knew for what the doctors say was 8 minutes, but for me it felt like a lifetime. What I found wasn't a void. It was a love so heavy it felt like gravity. I met Jesus, and he showed me that while we are busy trying to conquer the stars, we are losing the ground beneath our feet. He showed me the future of our world, the year 2026, and a man who has captivated the globe, Elon Musk. If you are hearing this, please listen. This isn't about technology or rockets. It's about where we are going and why we need to stop running. It was a rainy evening, the kind where the street lights smear across the windshield like spilled paint. I was driving home from a double shift at the logistics center, tired, annoyed, my back aching from sitting in an office chair all day. The radio was playing a podcast about artificial intelligence and the future of humanity. The host was talking about how we would soon merge with computers, how we would leave our biological limits behind. I remember nodding along, thinking how easy it would be if machines could just live our lives for us. If we didn't have to feel tired or sad or lonely. I took the curve on Route 9 too fast. The road was slick with oil and rain. The tires lost their grip on the wet asphalt. I didn't scream. I just remember the world spinning, the sickening crunch of metal against a guardrail, the sound of the podcast voice warping into a high-pitched squeal, and then the sudden, shocking shattered glass. Pain flared white-hot in my chest for a second, sharp and breathtaking, and then, instantly, it was gone. The darkness didn't last. I felt a sensation of being unzipped from a heavy winter coat. The weight of my body, the ache in my back, the exhaustion, it all just dropped away. I was floating above the wreckage. I saw my car, crumpled like a soda can, steam rising from the engine in the rain. I saw a girl inside with blood on her forehead, slumped over the steering wheel. It took me a moment to realize she was me. I felt no fear, only a strange, detached curiosity. It was like looking at an old shirt I no longer needed to wear. Then the rain stopped. Not that it ceased falling. I could see the droplets suspended in the air like diamonds, but it ceased to matter. The gray scenery dissolved into a brilliance that wasn't white, but every color imaginable layered on top of one another. It was a light that didn't cast shadows. It came from everywhere and nowhere. A warmth washed over me, stronger than any embrace I had ever known. It wasn't just warm temperature, it was warm emotion. It felt like safety. It felt like the memory of being held by a mother before you even know what a mother is. I turned, and he was there. He didn't look like the statues in the museums I'd visited. He didn't look like the paintings in the art history books. He looked like the feeling of finally coming home after a long, cold journey. He was wearing a robe that seemed woven out of the light itself, shimmering with a texture I can't describe, like water and silk mixed together. His face was not glowing in a way that hurt my eyes, but it held a brightness that made everything else look dim. His eyes were the most important thing. They were brown, deep, and held the weight of every tear ever cried and the joy of every sunrise ever seen. I wanted to hide. I felt instantly exposed, ashamed of my cynicism, ashamed of every time I'd rolled my eyes at the idea of faith, every time I had mocked someone for praying. I felt every selfish thought I had ever had. I whispered, "I didn't believe in you." He smiled, and the light around us seemed to breathe with him. His voice wasn't a sound that traveled through the air. It was a realization blooming in my mind, clearer than my own thoughts. "I know," he answered. "You looked for truth in facts, Lisa, but love is the only fact that remains when the world fades." I asked, "Am I dead? Is this the end?" "You are paused," he said gently. "You are in the space between breaths. There is a story you must see, so you can tell the others that they are reading the wrong book." He reached out a hand. His hand looked strong, like a worker's hand, yet gentle. When I took it, the hospital scene, the rain, the wreckage, it all vanished. We were no longer on the side of the road. We were standing on what felt like a balcony made of glass, overlooking a vast, swirling storm. But it wasn't a storm of clouds and rain. It was a storm of noise. "Look," Jesus said, pointing to the center of the swirl. "My children have built a new tower. They speak to everyone, yet they hear no one." I looked down and saw the earth, but it was covered in a thick, gray fog. As I looked closer, I realized the fog was made of information. I saw streams of binary code, millions of headlines, billions of video clips, angry comments, desperate selfies, all swirling in a chaotic, beautiful, terrifying vortex. It was the digital mind of humanity. It was loud. Even though there was no sound, I could feel the noise. It felt like a million people screaming for attention all at once. "This is the world as it is now," he said. "Connected, but broken." I saw millions of people staring into screens, their faces illuminated by blue light. I felt their emotions as if they were my own. I felt a teenager's anxiety about not getting enough likes. I felt a mother's loneliness as she scrolled through pictures of other perfect families. I felt a father's anger as he read a news article that was designed to make him mad. It was a deafening scream of isolation disguised as connection. Then the scene shifted. The digital swirl coalesced into the shape of a man standing on a high platform, looking up at a red planet. It was Elon Musk. But in this vision, he wasn't the confident billionaire I saw on the news. He wasn't the tech mogul commanding rockets. He looked like a small, restless child holding a broken toy. He was building rockets, satellites, and chips, frantically trying to bridge the gap between where we are and where he thinks we need to be. Jesus looked at him with a profound, breaking sadness. There was no anger in his face, only a deep ache. "This man," he said softly, "is the architect of your age's hunger. He seeks to save humanity by taking them away from the home I gave them." I watched as the vision of Elon pointed to the stars, and crowds followed his gaze, cheering. They wanted to escape. They wanted Mars. They wanted to merge their minds with machines. They thought the earth was used up, broken, finished. "Is he evil?" I asked, trembling. "Is he the enemy?" "No," Jesus answered. "He is thirsty. He believes that if he can expand the mind of man, he can cure the ache in the soul. He believes that if he can take you to the stars, you will leave your brokenness behind. But he is mistaken. He is trying to build a ladder to heaven using steel and code. He does not see that heaven is not a place you travel to. It is a place you allow in." Jesus moved his hand, and the vision of Elon changed. I saw wires connecting his brain to a cloud of information. He looked powerful, knowing everything, calculating everything. Yet, in his eyes, I saw a trap. He was alone inside his own mind. In 2026, Jesus told me, "The world will face a choice. This man will offer a key that promises to unlock human potential. He will offer a way to be more than human. But listen to me, Lisa. You were not made to be a machine. You were made to be a garden." The scene widened. The year 2026 appeared in the air, written in fire that didn't burn but glowed like a sunset. "The coming year is the year of the screen breaking," Jesus said. I saw a moment in the near future. It looked like late 2026. A massive technological silence. I don't know if it was a solar flare, a cyber attack, or something spiritual, but the screens went dark. The satellites ceased their chatter. The digital cloud evaporated. "What is happening?" I cried out. "It looks like the end. Without the connection, how will we survive?" "It is the beginning of remembering," he replied. "Watch." In the silence of that vision, I saw people panicking at first. They tapped their phones, but nothing refreshed. They couldn't post. They couldn't stream. The gray fog I had seen earlier began to lift. And as it lifted, something amazing happened. I saw a father look up from a black screen and actually see his daughter's eyes for the first time in years. I saw neighbors walking out of their houses because the internet was down, meeting each other on lawns, sharing food. I saw a young boy picking up a guitar that had been gathering dust, strumming a chord that resonated in the quiet air. "This is the test," Jesus said, his voice sounding like rushing water. "The man Musk offers you a merger with the machine. He offers you eternity in a silicon cage. I offer you eternity in a heartbeat. When the noise stops, the heart starts." He turned to me and the digital galaxy dissolved. We were standing in a meadow of grass that felt more real than the floor I walk on now. The grass was vibrant green, and each blade seemed to have its own light. I stepped on it, and instead of crushing it, the grass seemed to spring back, humming with life. "Come," he said, "I want to show you what has been forgotten." We walked through the meadow, and as we walked, new visions appeared in the air around us, like windows opening into different realities. The first window showed a forest, but it wasn't just trees. I could see underneath the soil. I saw the roots of the trees reaching out, wrapping around each other, sharing water, sharing nutrients. It was a vast, complicated web of support. "This," Jesus said, "is how I designed life. Nothing lives for itself. The oak tree does not hoard its acorns. It gives them to the squirrel and the soil. But look at what my children are building." The window changed. I saw a city of glass boxes. Inside each box was a person. They had everything they needed: food, entertainment, comfort. But the walls were thick. They couldn't touch each other. They waved at each other through the glass. They sent messages through wires, but they never felt the warmth of another hand. "They call this safety," he said. "I call it a slow death. You were created for touch, Lisa. You were created to be known, not just viewed." We continued walking. The air here smelled like rain and cedar and flowers I couldn't name. It was the scent of pure life. "I want to show you the leaders," he said. A new vision formed. I saw a long table. At this table sat men and women in suits, powerful people, presidents, kings, CEOs. They were arguing. Their words were like black smoke coming out of their mouths, choking the air. They were fighting over borders, over money, over resources. They were drawing lines on maps. "Now look down," Jesus whispered. Beneath the table, unnoticed by the powerful, were ordinary people. I saw a grandmother in Iran baking bread and breaking a piece to give to a neighbor. I saw a teacher in America staying late to help a student who was struggling. I saw a nurse in Brazil holding the hand of a dying man she didn't know. These actions were glowing. They were small sparks of gold light. "The world focuses on the table of arguments," Jesus said, "but my kingdom is built underneath in the quiet acts of mercy. The news will tell you the world is falling apart, but I tell you, the world is being held together by these threads of gold, by the people who choose kindness when no one is watching." He stopped and turned to me. "The man Musk and others like him, they want to solve the problems of the table. They think if they have more power, more intelligence, more control, they can fix the world. But the world cannot be fixed from the top down. It is healed from the bottom up." "But they are so powerful," I said. "Elon Musk can change the economy with one sentence. What can a grandmother do?" Jesus smiled, and it was the look of a parent explaining a secret to a child. "A rocket can reach the moon, Lisa, but it cannot heal a broken heart. A computer can calculate the stars, but it cannot forgive a sin. Power makes noise, but love makes life. Do not be impressed by the noise." We walked further, and the scenery changed again. We were standing by a river that flowed with water so clear it looked like liquid glass. "I want to show you the sadness of the genius," Jesus said. The vision of Elon returned. He was sitting in a room surrounded by screens. He looked exhausted. He was looking at a simulation of a city on Mars. It was perfect, clean, efficient, but it was dead. There were no birds. There was no wind in the trees because there were no trees. "He feels the loneliness of the universe," Jesus said. "He looks at the stars and sees empty space, and it terrifies him. So he tries to fill it with human noise. He does not know that the space is not empty. It is filled with my presence. If he would stop trying to conquer the silence and instead listen to it, he would find the peace he is building rockets to find." "Will he ever find it?" I asked. "That is his choice," Jesus replied, "just as it is yours." In 2026, the testing of hearts will not be about who has the best technology. It will be about who can sit still, who can be content with what is real, rather than chasing what is artificial. He swept his arm across the horizon and a new scene appeared. This one was frightening at first. I saw people in 2026 after the screens went dark. I saw withdrawal. I saw people shaking, angry, confused. It looked like addicts deprived of their drug. They didn't know what to do with their hands. They didn't know how to look at a sunset without taking a picture of it. "This will be the hard part," Jesus said. The detox. When the distraction is removed, the pain rises. People will have to face their families. They will have to face their own thoughts. They will have to face me. But then the scene softened. I saw a woman sitting on her porch. She was crying. But they weren't tears of despair, they were tears of release. She was looking at the trees in her yard as if she had never seen them before. She was listening to the birds. She took a deep breath, and I saw a light ignite in her chest. When the artificial lights go out, Jesus whispered, the inner light can finally be seen. He looked at me with such intensity that I felt my knees go weak. Lisa, you must tell them. You must tell them that they are building a cage and calling it freedom. They are building a tomb and calling it the future. The man Musk is a sign. He shows you what happens when a brilliant mind has no anchor in the spirit. He floats, he drifts, and he takes the world with him. But I'm just me, I protested. I'm just a logistics coordinator. I'm a skeptic. No one will listen to me. They will listen, he said, because you are not trying to sell them anything. You are just telling them where the water is. When people are thirsty, they don't care who brings the water. They just want to drink. He walked over to a tree in the meadow. It was an olive tree, ancient and gnarled. He touched the bark. The earth is patient, he said. It waits for you. The soil is waiting for your hands. The air is waiting for your songs. In 2026, when the systems fail, the earth will remain. Tell them to make friends with the ground again. Tell them to plant seeds, not just seeds for food, but seeds of friendship. Tell them to open their doors. I looked at the tree and then back at him. I don't want to go back, I wept. It's so loud down there. It's so cold. People are so angry. Jesus stepped closer. He placed his hands on my shoulders. His touch was solid, real. I am not sending you back to be alone. I am sending you back to be a window. When you are kind, Lisa, you let my light through. When you listen to someone instead of judging them, you let my light through. You don't have to save the world. You just have to be a place where the world can touch heaven. He leaned in close and whispered the final thing I remember. 2026 will ask you, do you want to be a god of information or a child of God? Do you want to live in the simulation or in the creation? Choose the soil, Lisa. Choose the hands that hold, not the hands that type. The man Musk looks for a new earth. Tell him and tell them all that the old earth is still holy. It is not a disposable wrapper. It is the cradle I built for you. Then, a sensation of falling backward, fast and hard. It felt like being sucked through a straw. I gasped, my lungs burning as if I had been underwater. The beeping of monitors assaulted my ears. The smell of antiseptic replaced the scent of the meadow. My mother was gripping my hand, her face pale, her eyes wide with terror and relief. She's back, a nurse shouted. We have a pulse. The recovery was brutal. Broken ribs, a concussion, weeks of physical therapy. I had to learn to walk without limping, but the internal change was instant. I couldn't look at my phone the same way. When I saw the notification light blink, I felt a wave of nausea. When I saw news about Neuralink or SpaceX, I didn't feel the awe I used to feel. I didn't see progress. I felt a deep, overwhelming compassion. I saw the desperate attempt to escape the human condition. I saw a man and a whole generation running away from the very thing that could save them. Simple, messy, human connection. I'm different now. I don't preach on street corners. I don't stand with signs, but I invite people to dinner. I ask them to leave their phones at the basket by the door. At first, they are annoyed, they twitch, they reach for their pockets. But then we eat, we talk. Real talking, where you look at someone's face and not a notification. We look at each other's eyes, and something changes. The tension leaves their shoulders. I tell them about the choice coming in 2026. I tell them that the silence is coming, and we need to be ready for it. I tell them that Elon Musk isn't the villain, but he is a sign of how lost we are, looking for salvation in the stars when it's waiting in the silence we are so afraid of. Jesus wasn't angry. He wasn't political. He wasn't trying to start a religion. He was just waiting for us to look up from our devices and realize we are already connected, not by a network, but by love. He showed me that the future isn't about flying cars or chips in our brains. It's about coming back to the garden. It's about remembering that we are souls, not software. My skeptical heart died on that rainy road in October. The heart beating in my chest now knows the truth. We aren't machines. We are miracles. And we need to wake up before we upgrade ourselves out of existence. I see the world differently now. I see the invisible threads Jesus showed me. When I see a mother hugging her child, I see the gold light. When I see a man helping a stranger with a flat tire, I see the kingdom of God. It's not somewhere else. It's here, buried under the noise. I remember another vision he showed me just before I left. It was a vision of a quiet movement. It wasn't loud. It wasn't on the news. It was millions of people simply deciding to slow down. They started gardens in the cities. They started reading books made of paper. They started singing together in living rooms. And as they did this, the gray fog over the earth began to dissipate. The sun came through. The air became clear. This is the victory, he had told me. Not a war won with weapons, but a peace won with presence. So, that is my message. The year 2026 is coming. The screens might flicker, the idols of technology might falter, but do not be afraid. When the artificial light fades, the true light begins. Prepare your hearts. Learn to sit in silence. Learn to listen to the person right in front of you, because that is where God is. He is not in the code. He is in the connection. I still have pain from the accident. My back still hurts when it rains. But every time it rains, I remember the water on the road and the transition to the light. I remember his eyes. And I know that the pain is just a reminder that I am here, that I am alive, and that I have a job to do. My job is to be human. My job is to love the person next to me. My job is to tell you that you are loved more than you can imagine by a God who would rather die than lose you to the dark. And about Elon, I pray for him. I really do. I pray that one day he will stop looking at Mars and look at a flower on Earth. Really look at it and see that the engineering of a single petal is greater than any rocket he could ever build. I pray he finds the peace that Jesus showed me, the peace that doesn't need to go anywhere because it is already everywhere. The world is about to change. I saw it, but the change isn't what you think. It's not a new version of a phone. It's a new version of us. A version that remembers who we are. We are the children of the light, and it's time to come home. One afternoon, shortly after I got out of the hospital, I was sitting in my backyard. I was watching a bee navigate through the clover patches. It was such a small thing, insignificant to the world of logistics and algorithms I used to worship. But I watched that bee with the eyes Jesus had given me. I saw the purpose in it. I saw how the flower needed the bee, and the bee needed the flower. It was a transaction of life, not money. And I felt a wash of gratitude so strong it brought me to tears. This is the blueprint. No, not blueprint. This is the design. This is the way it works. I remembered another moment from the meadow. Jesus had walked me to a cliff edge, not a scary one, but a high vantage point. Look at the time, he had said. I looked out, and instead of space, I saw time flowing like a river. I saw the past, the present, and the future. But the future wasn't fixed like concrete. It was fluid, like water. I saw ripples. He picked up a stone, a glowing white stone, and handed it to me. Every act of love is a stone thrown into this river, he said. You think your life is small. You think your choices don't matter. But look, I threw the stone into the river of time. It splashed, and the ripples moved outward. I watched them travel. I saw that single ripple touch a boat in the future, a man who was about to give up, about to make a terrible mistake. The ripple hit his boat, rocked it gently, and he looked up. That moment of looking up changed his mind. He went home to his family instead of leaving them. That man's son grew up to be a healer who saved thousands. You see, Jesus asked, you threw one stone, and you saved a generation. Do not measure your life by followers or fame. Measure it by the ripples. He showed me the opposite, too. He showed me what happens when we act out of fear or anger. I saw dark stones being thrown into the river. They created turbulent waves that capsized boats. The anger on your screens, he said, it creates storms in the spirit. When you fight with a stranger online, you are adding to the storm that drowns your own children. Stop throwing dark stones, Lisa. That vision sticks with me every day. Before I speak, before I react, I ask myself, what kind of ripple will this make? Will it steady a boat? Or will it tip one over? I also saw a vision of the churches. This one surprised me. I saw grand buildings, beautiful cathedrals, and massive auditoriums with lights and smoke machines. But many of them were dim in the spirit world. The light wasn't coming from the stage. It was coming from scattered individuals in the seats. Jesus pointed to a small, rundown building with a leaking roof. Inside, there were only 10 people. They were sharing a meal. They were laughing. They were crying together. That building was blazing with light. It looked like a bonfire in the night. My house is not made of brick, he said. It is made of hearts. Where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am. The world looks for the spectacular. I look for the sincere. In 2026, many big structures will crumble, not just businesses, but systems of thought. People will leave the big shows. They will find me in the living rooms. They will find me in the soup kitchens. They will find me in the quiet. He showed me a vision of young people. I saw teenagers who looked bored, tired, anxious. They were the generation raised on screens. They looked like they were asleep while walking. But then, in the vision of 2026, I saw them waking up. It was like they were hearing a sound no one else could hear. They started taking off their headphones. They started looking at the sky. They started asking questions that Google couldn't answer. Why am I here? What is love? Who is God? This generation, Jesus said, has been fed a diet of dust. They are starving for bread. When the screens break, they will be the first to run to the table. Do not judge them for their confusion. Prepare the table for them. He showed me the great silence of 2026 again, but in more detail. I saw the panic in the stock markets. I saw the trading floors frozen. Men in expensive suits were shouting, terrified because their wealth was just numbers on a screen. And the screens were blank. But then I saw a farmer. He was in his field. He didn't even know the internet was down. He was holding a handful of soil, smelling it. He was rich. The definition of wealth is about to flip, Jesus said. Those who hold the earth will be the kings. Those who hold the numbers will be the beggars. Tell people to invest in what is real. Invest in friendship. Invest in the ground. Invest in the family. These are the stocks that never crash. We walked back toward the spot where I had arrived. The light was still radiant, wrapping around me like a blanket. I felt a tugging sensation, a heaviness starting to return to my limbs. I knew my time was running out. I have one last thing to show you, he said. He opened his hand, and in his palm I saw a small flickering flame. It looked fragile, like a candle in the wind. This is the faith of the world right now, he said. It is small. It is flickering. The winds of fear and distraction are blowing hard. But he closed his hand and then opened it again, and the flame was a roaring fire, bright and unquenchable. This is what happens when my people come together. One candle is easily blown out, but a fire cannot be stopped by the wind. The wind only makes it grow. He looked into my eyes, and for a moment I saw the universe. I saw galaxies spinning in his irises. I saw the beginning and the end. Go back, Lisa. Be a fire starter. Not with anger, but with love. Find the others. Bring your candles together. 2026 is not the end of the world. It is the beginning of the fire. I will, I whispered. I promise. I am with you, he said. I am always with you. In the car, in the office, in the silence. You are never alone. That was when I fell. That was when I woke up in the hospital. And now here I am. I'm telling you this story not because I want attention. I'm telling you because I don't want you to be afraid when the changes come. When the news talks about solar flares or cyber wars or the collapse of the tech giants, don't panic. Remember what I saw. It is a correction. It is a return. I look at the year 2026 on the calendar now, and I don't feel dread. I feel excitement. I feel like we are approaching a graduation day. We have spent so long in the dark classroom of the screen, learning lessons that don't matter. Soon, the bell will ring, and we will go outside to play in the real sun. My mom asked me the other day, Lisa, do you miss him? Do you miss being there? I thought about it. I thought about the meadow, the peace, the feeling of total acceptance. Yes, I said. I miss it every second. But he told me something important. He told me that heaven is not just a place you go to when you die. It's a place you bring with you while you live. So I am trying to bring a little bit of that meadow into my office. I'm trying to bring a little bit of that river into the traffic on Route 9. I'm trying to look at Elon Musk and see the lonely boy, not the powerful billionaire. I'm trying to look at you, whoever you are listening to this, and see the light inside you. Because it's there. I saw it. You are glowing, even if you don't feel it. You are made of the same light I saw in that robe. You are part of the story. The year 2026 is coming. The test of hearts is coming. Put down the phone. Look up. The silence is speaking. Are you listening? The accident changed my body. I have a scar on my forehead now, a thin white line that I trace in the mirror every morning. It reminds me of the crack in the world where the light got in. But the accident changed my mind more. I used to think intelligence was about how much you knew. Now I know intelligence is about how much you love. I used to think the future was something we built. Now I know the future is something we grow. I remember one final detail, something small that I often forget to mention. In the vision of the Table of Nations where the leaders were arguing, there was a cup of water on the table. It was vibrating. Not from the fists pounding on the table, but from a frequency I could feel. It was humming with a song. Jesus had pointed to it and said, "Even the water cries out for peace." Creation is tired of the noise, Lisa. The rocks, the trees, the water, they are waiting for you to stop fighting. When you stop, they will sing. I hear that hum sometimes now, early in the morning, before the traffic starts, before the notifications begin. I hear the hum of the world waiting for us to wake up. So, please, if you are worried about the future, if you're worried about Elon Musk and his rockets, if you are worried about AI taking your job, stop, breathe. Look at your hand. Look at the intricate design of your own skin. You are a masterpiece. No robot can replace you. No rocket can take you anywhere better than where you are right now if you are truly here. 2026 is the year we stop running. It is the year we stand still. And in that stillness, we will find God. We will find each other. And we will finally truly be home.